Okay, it took me a while to create this video because I really didn't know how to explain my love for the light we're reviewing today. So let me preface with a little backstory about me. I love lights. I love all kinds. I like production lights, and if you look behind me, let's see right there, you can see a bunch of production lights on this tier and on this tier behind me. I love some really high-end customs. So here is a one-of-a-kind. I would tell you the price of this light, but most of you would just literally write me off as a psychopath. If you're not a stranger to my channel, you know how much I love cool fall products. This is a cool fall spy. And I just tell you that to explain that I have this hobbyist fascination with collecting flashlights. It's just about what's unique, what's special. Now there's another side of my personality. I'm a movie buff. I love movies, and so I like collecting props. And here is a prop of a lightsaber. It's not just any lightsaber. It's not even just a Graflex. It's specifically the Graflex from Episode 8, Last Jedi. It's screen accurate. So that's the kind of nerdiness we're talking about. I'll show you one more prop from my collection. This is the Staff of Ra medallion or headpiece from Indiana Jones Raiders of the Lost Ark with screen accurate necklace as worn by Marion. So you can see that I'm a nerd and I love these things. So hopefully with that long backstory, you're gonna understand why I love the Nitecore Tiny Monster 28 so much. Welcome back to Shul Lights. This Nitecore TM28 or Tiny Monster 28 is the convergence of two sides of my hobbies, which is I love flashlights and I love movie props. And this is such an iconic looking flashlight that it's been used in tons of movies. So let's take a look at some of the movies, just some of the movies it's been used in. All right, now this is not an exhaustive list. This is just a couple that I could quickly pull off the internet. We got Altered Carbon here. That's unmistakably a TM28. And I also want to point out that the TM line, the QuadRay line, has had the TM24, 26, 28. In each case, there was an emitter or driver upgrade to raise the lumens, but they all have the same iconic look. Next, we have Resident Evil 6. You can see that QuadRay design again. Then we have Star Trek Picard, and you can see Picard's holding it there. Here we have Raised by Wolves, which, by the way, I thought was a phenomenal show by Ridley Scott, and I'm really upset it got canceled. Here we have The Mummy 2017.
Pan, this is November 4, 0909.
What the hell?
No!
In this shot, it's very identifiable, but in the next shot we can see there's Tom Cruise. So, I mean, I've seen this light in so many movies. It's inexhaustible to count them all. I'm pretty sure, since this light is pretty old, meaning that not the 28 is old in its current version, but as a 24, it's been out for a while, and I swear I saw it in one of the X-File like season 7 or 8 when they brought it back and everyone's all old. So it's a really iconic light in a bunch of the media I love. I had to have it. I had to have it. The question is, does it live up to the hype? Is this just a fancy looking prop, or does it really deliver? Well, I'm happy to tell you, it delivers. So let's take a look at the design of it. It's got this really unique design that we've been talking about with its 4 reflectors all lined up in unison. And it's got XHP35 emitters, which are just kind of, there's something special about the XHP35. I don't know what it is, but I really love them. It's just a really great design. Now, on the side here, you've got a 2-stage button. We'll come back to that. And then you've got an OLED display that gives you all kinds of information like the exact battery level, and also things like when you mechanically lock out the battery pack and you lock it back in, you'll notice it boots up And it's going to ask you what type of batteries you have, and you can set them from IMR to a battery pack that is sold separately, and even just lithium-ion batteries. IMR, of course, are what most people call lithium-ion batteries these days when you get like 18650s, but IMR is a specific chemistry which is high drain. So this light can be configured for all these different types of battery sources. Now, once you figure that all out, you got the button here. And so it's got a really, and you can see it's illuminated too. So it's got kind of a pulsing blue for locating it at night when it's off. But it's got a 2-stage soft touch button where if you just lightly tap it, it'll read out that it's at 2 lumens and that's stage 1 or level 1, the lowest mode. And you can see that it's just barely on. So it's not, overcoming my camera here. Now, if I lightly tap again, you're going to go to level 2 and it says 320 lumens. Now, I did measurements on my sphere over here and I found the levels to be quite accurate. So that's really awesome that it tells you what it's at. You don't have to memorize. I think it's really useful. I do. So then we go to level 3 and you can see it's 1,000 lumens. And at this point, I can start to feel the heat coming out. Also notice it's continually telling you the runtime and the temperature internally on the light. Really phenomenal. Now, if I click again, you'll see we're now at 4, level 4, and it's, what's the lumens say here? Let's go back. Level 4 is 2,300 lumens. Notice it's going to give you the voltage. It's going to say the battery's still full and that we're going to get almost 2 hours at this incredible output. One more brings us all the way back down because there's a hidden turbo, okay? Now the hidden level 5 you get to by just pressing firmly. So the light is off. I will do a firm press. It goes straight to turbo. You can see on the side here, it said 6,000 lumens. And now it says I'm going to get half an hour at 6,000 lumens and it's monitoring the temperature. Now, this is where I got to stop and just tell you what I've experienced with this light. Because it's going to be a really lengthy video if I have to show you all my math. But here's what I want to explain about this. This is a chunky light. And for its size, honestly, there are lights that put out more lumens. I think this is a little smaller than an AceBeam X75, but an AceBeam X75 will put out, up to 80,000 lumens, not 6,000. So here's the deal. Why would you get something like this? Now, originally I started telling you that I got it because of it's a prop and I like that. But here's what I noticed. You go to the AceBeam X75, you hit those 80,000 lumens. How long do you have it at 80,000 lumens for before it thermally steps down? I don't know, a minute, 2 minutes, I don't know, something like that. Even AceBeam will tell you that if you want to sustain a continual output for like an hour, you should be at 8,000 of the 80,000 lumens. So I was holding this thing and I said, gosh, it's really chunky for how big it is. A lot of thermal mass here. And the fact that they're all separated out, I wonder how long could I run it on turbo, level 5. And so I did that and I stuck it in my sphere. And this is what I have to report, okay? I have to report that after 30 seconds where most lights will step down, it didn't. After a minute, it didn't. After 2 minutes, after 3 minutes. And here's the thing. I went 5 minutes on turbo and it never stepped down. I mean, it was like 80% of what it was. And by the way, I did see it kind of go down and a little bit up, a little down. That's because it's probably thermally managing it. But here's the thing. It didn't do that thing where it steps down to half or a quarter like most lights do. You'll see a lot of lights be at 5,000 lumens and go down to 1,500. This thing started at 6,000 and was around 5,000 for the entire 5 minutes I was holding it. Now, I don't know if it was ever actually going to step down, but I stopped. And the reason why is because I was at a point where the handle right around here was fairly warm, not bad, but I was always kind of like testing it up here. And it was hot, really hot, to the point where if I had been holding it by the head alone, it probably would have burned me. So that's the way lights run when you're putting that much output out, right? That's just kind of like, physics. You can't get around that. But I want to point out that there's a tripod mount on the bottom, And I think that if you were to tripod mount this, I think you could sustain turbo levels for 10, 15 minutes. I think the light will survive. I think it's fine. Be careful about touching the end. Be careful about that kind of stuff. And I do think that when you're running a light that hard, you should continually monitor it. I don't think you should just set something on turbo and walk away. It's a recipe for disaster, not for only for the light, but for, like starting a fire kind of reasons. It's got this flappy doodle, and under the flappy doodle is a barrel style connector. So this is a good time to explain that in the box it came with, holster and a barrel connector charger, so you don't have to buy an extra charger. It'll charge right in the light, and it'll tell you on the readout where it's at during the charging cycle. It also came with this little adapter, and this little adapter is so if you want to run flat top, non-protected lithium-ion batteries. Now, the batteries that it came with, well, at least I got the kit from Nitecore that has the IMR 18650s. These kind of look flat top, but they're not really. These are button tops. And so these work perfectly just against the head here. You screw it together and it's fine. But if you had flat top batteries, you could always take this adapter here. And I want to point out that there's a red ring here. And if you read the red ring, it's saying this side up. And what you do is you set it right here like this, and you can see each of these little nubs lines up with one of the flat top batteries. It can't twist on you because of these posts, so it fits perfectly right there. And then you screw this together, and then you can use even short flat top batteries. Nitecore also makes an extended battery pack for extended runtime. And so if you want to get one of those, then even more runtime, right? One last thing I should say about the design is not only is it unique looking, but it doesn't roll around on the table. I know that's silly, but man, sometimes I'll be out like working, on my car or something, and I'll set a flashlight down on the ground and the thing will roll away from me. This is not gonna roll away from you. But let's take it outside right now and see how this thing really performs in a real world situation. All right, let's get some beam shots on this Nitecore TM28 Tiny Monster. So I thought it'd be fun to pit it against another soda can flashlight. This one is gonna be very floody, but it's also 6,000 lumens. So it'll be interesting to see how the candela provided by these 4 reflectors really kind of punches through. But I also wanted to, just for the sake of fun, put it against AceBeam's new L16 V2, which is an SFT thrower with a ton of candela. So this one will outperform, but it's going to be a much smaller spot. So let's take a look. Let's remind ourselves that this tree right here is 20 meters. Not the first tree, but the second tree is 55 meters, this one right here. And then in the back, that row of palm trees is 150 meters. Let's start with the traditional flutter here, and let's go straight to 6,000 lumens, okay? So there you go. It lights up the street, but notice at the back there, and let's go to that overhead camera, I'll turn it off. You can see that it's making it, but not in a major way. That's what happens when you have a super floody light. So again, let me turn it on. Now let's check out the 6,000 lumens of the Nitecore TM28. Let's turn this on, straight to turbo. Oh, it's destroying that nearby tree. That 55-meter tree is gone. Let's do the row in the back. Wow, there's a lot of light. Let me turn it off and let's take a look at the overhead view. There's the 4 palm trees and on. 4 palm trees and on. So obviously the 4 reflectors make a huge difference in the lumens. Now let's take a dedicated thrower like the AceBeam L16. The AceBeam L16 V2 is my favorite SFT thrower right now. It's got amazing tint, great output, amazing beam. And it's really bright, and it's going to be more candela and brighter than even the Tiny Monster. But here's the difference. Notice that it hits the 2 on the left, or the 2 in the middle, or the 2 on the right. But with the Tiny Monster, pow, all 4. So, this is an amazing light, and if you want one light that throws, that floods, that does it all, the Tiny Monster TM28 is your pick. Let's take a look at the beam shape of a thrower like this SFT thrower from AceBeam. this absolute flutter here from MSR, the Meteor M43, and then let's see how the quad reflectors of the TM28 really brings the best of both worlds. All right, straight to turbo at my feet here, and I'll go slowly up the street so you can see the beam profile of this AceBeam L16 V2, which is an SFT thrower. This thing is pure candela. This is for throwing light as far as you can. But of course, then you get a spot, right? So you get to pick where you are and hope that the spill gives you situational awareness. Next up, the flutter, which is the Noctagon M43. This is 6,000 lumens on turbo, and at my feet and up the street slowly. Let's do that again. At my feet and up the street slowly. Now let's see the power of the ThruNite TM28 with its quad reflectors. Straight to turbo and up the street slowly. Man, it is a lot of power, and it throws super well, but it's also really floody. That's the beauty of this design. Let's take a look at the TM28 on the nearby tree, the 55-meter tree, and then down the road. That's 150 in the back there. At this point of my review, I usually talk about tint and beam shape and everything. Now, this is what I'm going to tell you about this. If you are a tint snob, this is probably not the right light for you because it is just sheer lumens. We're not checking, whether it's above or below delta UV because it's a little greenish. I mean, it's actually so cool that it's actually more bluish than greenish. But what I'm saying is, if you're a warm light lover, not the light for you. Secondly, with the beam shape, I want to both compliment and be realistic about it at the same time. All four beams are dead centered, okay? There is no asymmetry here. But there are a few ring artifacts, and the bezel, the fact that it's got these little notches here to unscrew these, right there, kind of produce some shadows that you can see when you're white wall hunting. So this is not something you're gonna notice outside, but let me go to this clip right here and show you that this is me white wall hunting, and you can see what looks like little, on the very edge of the spill, little like flares. That's actually produced by those notches. And you can see that it was a little ringy, but again, outside, you don't notice it. But I don't think that those are really issues when you're talking about a light that was clearly designed for long range outside work. If you're inside white wall hunting, well, I mean, that's not this kind of light. This is not an EDC light, something you put in your pocket for reading stories at bedtime with your toddler. All right, so my conclusion about this light. I've always wanted this light. When I say always, I mean ever since I've been an enthusiast into flashlights, which has been about 5 years. For the last 5 years, I've coveted this light and I've wanted it. And I've reviewed enough lights that Nitecore finally said, yeah, we'll send it to you. I'm glad they did. I'm gonna hold on to this light. I love it. I love props. I love everything about the light, really. But the question is should you, the viewer, just say, oh, that's cool that you showed it to me, or do you want to buy it? And I think the answer is because this is an expensive light. I saw one on eBay for like $290, brand new, but that's not typical. I think mostly it's almost up to the $400 mark. And at that price, you can get an AceBeam X75, and I think a lot of people would. But here's the thing. I have a lot of expensive lights, and if you're the kind of person, well, you'll know if the things I've said appeal to you. If you want something as seen in movies, you want something that you can show to a normie, someone that doesn't really know flashlights, the OLED display is super fancy. The way it looks is fancy, and it does deliver. So I think that if you are a spec reader, somebody that's reading the amount of candela, the throw, the lumens, I think that maybe there's other lights in this price range that might get your money first. But This is a solid light that I am glad to have in my collection, and I do like it a whole heck of a lot. And I think that you'll know if you're the person that this light is for. All right, thanks for watching this video. If you can take a moment to like and subscribe, that really helps me out. Consider subscribing to my channel so you can see new videos as they're released. And as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next review.